Okay, hello friends. My name is Sunil Sharma and welcome to our channel Career Talk, where we invite experienced professionals to help you to prepare your all kind of interviews. Friends, EY in India doing mass hiring for business analysts at various locations like Kochi, Bengaluru, Calcutta, Gurugram, Hyderabad. And all these questions which we are going to discuss today are shared by our viewers. And today Kanu Bhutani is with us again. So he is going to help us in giving in-depth answer with all his real project examples. So stay with us till the last. Friends, before we start, if you still not subscribed to our channel Career Talk, please do so. And in the end, please hit like. Your one like is a big motivation for us. So let's begin. Hey, welcome Kanu one more time to
Hi,
share your
Sonal.
wealth of knowledge with our viewers.
Thank you. Yes, sure.
Okay, Kanu. So
Yes,
if you allow, shall we start?
yes, we can start.
Okay, thanks, Kanu. Okay, so this one is with respect to business analyst process flow. So could you please able to explain what's the business analyst process flow?
Okay, the business analysis process flow, the very first step is information gathering. Information gathering is the first and the foremost important step for the business analyst, where he has to speak to the clients and the SMEs and gather all the information from them. This whole exercise can also be recorded for the client and provided details later on. The second is identify the key stakeholders. The key stakeholders are the people who are taking the project ahead. Either the project is related to them so that their project can go live based on our project, or they have invested in our project. The third is identify the business objective. Now, when the project or a purpose to is to create a project, it is the product that they want to create or update in a current project. They will help the business analyst to identify the as is project and also create the to be process based on the inputs given. Like, for example, keep the employees focused on growth, motivate them, helps structure tasks and responsibilities, and drive them cooperatively and collaboratively. The fourth one is determine the available options. Check the softwares, the hardwares, and all other things that are available. And then you can do the work that can be done with these things. Or if you feel that these things are not enough, then you can introduce more tools. The fifth one is scope the definition. There is a scope, a part of project planning that involves determining and documenting the list of specific goals, deliverables, tasks, costs, and deadlines. These all are to be documented in a scope called scope statement or the terms of reference. Then comes the delivery plan, in which a project manager will decide a strategic element for every product or project. The goal here is that to produce a result that serves a specific purpose. Be taken, and conditions and tasks that are to be planned to complete and to ensure the success of the completion of the project. And finally comes the implementation phase, where the requirements are given to the implementation team and they start working on that. And then comes evaluation, wherein the BA should suggest some inputs during the UAT phase of the project. So these are all the 8 points that help us in deciding the project deliverables.
Okay, okay. Thanks a lot, Kanu, for that in-depth answer. Okay, so how do you perform risk management in your project? It's an important and critical aspect in any project.
Yes, this is very important question. A risk basically is defined as a cause that a threat to a existing business which can cause an impact on revenue or sometimes on the project and of a business. Now, for example, I have taken a project example of mine that I was in a project which was a very a big enterprise project wherein I was working in a vulnerability analysis of a project and fix them so that there are zero high alert vulnerabilities in a project. Now, for this, a deadline was fixed, which was very short. And since this work was not done earlier, we were really not knowing how much time will it take to actually check these vulnerabilities. Since there are following steps involved, one is run the entire website through the vulnerability analysis tool. Second, based on the report that we get, we have to fix them in the code. And third, again run that in that vulnerability scanner tool till the things are resolved, till the high alert vulnerabilities are resolved. We have to keep continuing this way. And in this, the first step itself is that the entire website should be run through that vulnerability scanner tool takes 8 to 10 hours and for the tool to generate the report, and hence the wait time was very high. And then the changes to be done which did not produce any technical impact were made for the exercise. Now this was taking lot of time, and before the exercise the website can't go live because the privacy laws are very strict in US. Hence there was an escalation. So how, and the way we mitigated the plan, we executed the plan. We said that the website will be allowed to run through the scanner tool, not the whole website, but only the places where the errors have generated. So that brought down the scanner time to 2 to 3 hours. Then we had to update the code first time right, so that next time we don't face such an error. And also some more time was taken by the client by explaining the issues. So this sorted out all the issues and how we mitigated the risk in that project. So yes, Sunan, so that was the entire exercise we did for mitigating the risk.
Thanks, Kanu, for that. That was a really good explanation, that too in detail. So
Thank
really
you.
good one. Okay. And what do you mean by the critical path analysis? Is again an important concept, critical path.
Yes, this is a very important concept in project management technique from that requires mapping out every key task that is necessary to complete the project. And in that key task, it includes identifying the amount of time which to finish each activity, how much time it is taking. So that becomes the critical path analysis. Now here also I have given, I will like to give a project experience that was taking lot of time. So I was involved in one of the retail projects with a very fabulous ERP process we had created for the retail industry. And it was a medium sized fashion industry which used to make the clothes for the celebrities. So when we used to do any changes in the production and we had to get into the production, so the head of the company told us that without my approval, nothing will go in production. So now the problem happened that she was so much busy with other tasks that she had no time to give it to us for checking and approving, or then again work on that. So that became a very critical path for our project. Hence what we did, that our project manager decided to speak to the owner 1 week ahead and get her time to go through the UAT process and the demo that we were giving, so that she must be available for that demo, and there will be no waiting time for the production. And then it became very easy for us to get into production, thereby getting this critical path analysis solved.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Kanu, for that. Okay. Do you aware about this decision-making technique, which is known as CATWOE, CATWOE?
Yes. This is again another one very important tool for decision making, and it includes the analyzing how these decisions will be made based on the CATWO. CATWO is customer, actors, transformation process, worldview, owners, and environmental constraints. Now, all these, when we consider, we can make a proper decision for our project. I would like to give one project example, my live example. Like in one of my projects, it was a banking process, and there we had to take the decision of introducing a new process called the data quality checks. Now, what used to happen that earlier we were not having that data quality checks which were we were using, and we were directly generating the data, generating the report from the data that was sent by the different departments, and we used to send it to the customer. But later what happened, after some time we started receiving the complaints from the customer that the data that is generated is not proper in the way that the data should come, and from what all the departments the data must come. So this was the trigger point which made us to do a meeting and decide how we can make sure that we get data from all the departments, and that the data that we are sending to the customers should be correct. Now, the very first thing what we decided that we should contact each and every departments which are actors for us, and each department which we should contact them and try to get the data, and that way we will not miss. But this exercise, we thought it will be very difficult for us to actually contact each and every department. Instead, we decided that a transformation process we will do on our end, so that the customers based on that, we decided that we will create a data value, a data check. We will create one program process in which we will check each and every data that we are getting from each and every department. And if anyone fails to give us the data, or if that data quality check is getting missed, getting failed, that means that particular department has not given us the data, and then we can contact only that particular department to get the data. And that way we solved this problem by considering this decision was taken by CATWO process.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kanu, for giving this example. Okay.
Welcome.
Now let's talk about RUP methodology. Are you aware about what is RUP methodology and what is significance, importance?
Yes. RUP is both product application improvement as well as project management. So it is an object oriented approach sort of that guarantees a successful project management as well as the top notch software production we will get. Now, for example, I would like to give an example of a my project, in which there were third-party tool which we use to generate the reports, fetching the data from different departments and consolidating that in this third-party tool and get the reports out of it. But this tool was having lot of issues and errors, and due to which after sending the reports to the customers, we used to get many snow tickets to report came up on the support team, and that was the fault of only that third party tool that we were using. So we raised a complaint to that team, and they what they did, they inspected our problem, and they said, please elaborate us with all the issues that you are facing. And they got each and every issue that we sent them. And due to that tool, then what they decided, that every 3 months they will come up with a new version of this tool that will they will deploy, and they will try to resolve the problems that we have given them, and they will come up with the solutions for that. This was diligently done, and yes, after every release of their new tool, some of the problems used to get resolved, and this really helped us to use their tool. And in that case, they also got a positive feedback on the tool, and they also improved their tool. So this way, RPU actually helped us to solve this third-party tool issue.
Would you like to also explain about different phases or a cycle of
Yes.
Ariba?
Yes, it is there are three, there are a few different cycles. It is inception. It starts with inception. That means communication and planning and understanding the scope of the project. Then elaboration, planning and modeling, the detailed evaluation, development plan, and diminish the risks. Then comes construction. The project is developed and the system source code is created, and then the testing is done. Then the coding takes place. Then comes the transition, in which the final project is released to the public and updated the with the project development and into the production. Then the testing is done and the defects are removed from the project. And then comes production, where the final phase of the model and the project is updated and put on production accordingly.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Kanu, for that. Okay,
Welcome.
now let's talk about RAD methodology.
Yes. RAD is rapid application development. Now, this is a kind of the incremental model, and there are the phases of the project which are produced in parallel as individual projects, and they work as a IT crowd, or a lot of attention is given to them. For example, there are four different development phases in this. One is plan requirements, then is user design, third is rapid prototyping, and feedback and transition. Now, I would like to give describe this with one of my projects example, which I faced and how we solved this. In one of the projects, like which we were creating for a retail company. So there were some queries coming up from the clients during the UAT phase to change the following requirements and make the new changes, and then again set up the UAT again. So what was happened, this was continuously happening and always, and we were not able to deliver any requirements. So finally what we decided, that we will take up this rapid analysis. We will make the plan, the requirements, the user design, and we will do the rapid prototyping of the project and show them the requirements what they have agreed upon, so that we do not get any last minute surprise. And this actually reduced the addition of requirements for at a larger extent, and by freezing the requirements were done in almost every UAT phase. So that was the RAD that we
Okay,
utilized here.
okay. Thanks, Kanu, for that. And are you aware about the importance of RTM and what's the purpose of RTM?
Yes, RTM is requirement traceability matrix, and this is very important to record all the requirements given by the client, and so that we do not miss any of the requirements that a client has given. Now, normally what happens, I would like to give one example of a very big project in which I was working. It was an energy and utility company. There were so many requirements, and there were many of them that were getting missed while the project was actually in progress, and when there was a module that entered in the testing phase. Now we used to get many inputs from the testing team that there are these requirements, and we used to get back to them saying that some requirements are missing. So to solve this, because it was a huge number of requirements, so at every step, the manager, what he did, he came up and creating the requirement traceability matrix, which would trace the requirements from the development team to the testing team, so that neither of the team misses any of the requirement. And the another advantage was that the document also was created for all the requirements that have been completed and are in progress. So that really helped us to see and keep a check on all the requirements that were coming up.
Thanks, Kanu, for that. Okay. And you heard about this unified model language, UML, and what's the purpose
Yes.
use of that?
Yes, the UML is Unified Modified Modeling Language, which is a general purpose developmental modeling language that provides a standard way to visualize the system. Now, it is a visualization of a system. So, the one thing is that we use this UML diagrams to portray the behavior and the structure of the system. It also helps the software engineers, businessmen, and the system architects with modeling, design, and analysis. The second is detecting and eliminating errors. The complex applications need collaborations and planning from multiple teams, and hence require a clear and conscious way to communicate amongst them. The third is that the businessmen who do not understand the code, so UML becomes essential to communicate with non-programmers, essential requirements and functionalities and processes of the system. So that all are the important uses of the UML, I feel.
Okay. Thanks, Khan, for that. Okay. And what is scope creep? What do you meant by scope creep?
Yes, scope creep is defined actually as an uncontrolled or a sudden changes or derivations in a project's scope without changes in other resources of the project. So if this scope creep is there, it can be become a failure in proper monitoring, miscommunication, etc. I would like to give my personal experience, which I saw in one of the projects I was working with a huge scope creep in that project. Since day one of the project, the customer was very demanding, and almost every day there was a scope change and the requirements change coming up from the customer. It so happened that we all had to shift to the customer location and sit with their managers and work with them. We also added more resources and employees in our project to manage the project, and so that the scope can be maintained. But that also did not help us. And finally, it resulted in spending a lot of time in the office and working since there was no way to stop the scope creep from the clients. This also resulted in finger pointing to the people and problems among the project team members to resolve these issues and all, until unless we and they had to take stand and what all will be delivered by the team, and then only it got resolved. So that was a very big learning, and though it was a bad affair amongst all of us, but it was a very big learning for scope creep.
Okay. Thanks, Kanu, for that. Okay. And could you also help us with different requirement gathering technique as a business analyst? You need to involve with a lot of customer and stakeholders, right? So what are the
Yes.
different ways by which you are capturing your requirements?
The different ways and techniques of business analysts are that elicitation is a practice of collecting requirements from end customers and stakeholders. It is the requirement gathering process. Now, in that, there are number of elicitation techniques to gather requirements and collect the information. There are following: document analysis, observation, interview, prototyping, brainstorming, workshop, JARD, which is joint application development, reverse engineering, and surveys and questionnaire. So these are few of the number of elicitation techniques through which we can collect the requirements.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. Okay. So now
Yes,
this one is a little tricky. What is BPMN gateway and what are its different elements?
yeah. BPMN gateway is used for controlling the sequence of process and flow of interaction, which is in the way of processing modeling component. So there are many elements in BPMN gateway. The very first one is flow objects. The flow objects are like circles and the symbols that are based on which we can create the start and end and they perform as a trigger of the start or a complete process. Second is activities. So the tasks and the sub processes and the call activity and transactions, mostly these are the four important activities that we do, and we put them in a rectangle with the rounded corners. So tasks and sub processes, transactions. Then the third comes gateway. Now gateway is like a triangular, is like a diamond shape in which we actually have exclusive gateway, event-based gateway, parallel gateway, complex gateway. So they are actually deciding or some if-else processes when they come. So we put them into this diamond-shaped objects. Then comes connecting objects to get the sequence flow, the message flow, and the association. So these three are the places where we use the arrows. They can be dotted arrows, the straight line arrows with on the one point there is a dot and another place there is an arrow, or both sides there can be arrow. So we have to decide how we have to point out the flow. Then comes the swim lane, in which we organize different activities of the two different types of swim lanes. One is pool, second is lane. Now, what is pool? A pool is represented with a big rectangle with which contains many flow objects, connecting objects, and artifacts. And lane is the sub part of the pool in which we decide what are the connecting objects and artifacts more precisely in that. Then comes artifacts, which are the tools that are used. There are three different types of tools. One is data objects, another one is group, third one is annotation. So data object is that shows which data is required for a particular activity. So it is like a document with a folded side. One side is folded inside, and then the group, which is used as a group activity. So that is shown as a rectangle with a dotted line. And third is annotation, which uses to give the reader the model diagram and understandable impression. So it is just like a taking a pointer and putting the data, putting some information in that. So that is annotation. So these are different types of the activities and the gateways that we see uh, in BPMN.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Kanu, for that. Now, this one is pretty basic, but then sometimes difficult to answer.
Yeah.
What's the difference between BRD and SRS in business analysis?
Yes, there are almost like sometimes we think that they are same, but no, there are quite many differences between a BRD and the system requirements specification. BRD is called business requirement documentation, and SRS is called system requirements documentation. So in BRD, it's like we can put the high level functional specification, whereas in SRS, the technical specifications are put in. The BRD is created by business analysts after client interaction, whereas the system requirements document is created by the system architects with technical expertise. The BRD is derived from the client requirement, and SRS is derived from the BRD, which is like after the client engagement. So this is commonly used in the by the business analyst uses BRD, and the business analyst or the system analyst uses SRS. The BRD focuses on the stakeholder requirements, the business requirements, whereas SRS focuses can be on functional, but it is also non-functional requirements. Now, BRD is also used in initiation phase, but the SRS is used in planning phase. The BRD is used by upper middle management teams, and the SRS is used by project managers, technical leads, and subject matter experts. All these people use. So these are some of the differences between BRD and SRS.
Okay, thanks, Kanu, for that. Okay, now let's talk about gap analysis. What is gap analysis for you?
Yes, the gap analysis is very important thing sometimes when we do the business analysis, and we have to understand and analyze the gaps that are existing between the goal system and the existing system and their functionalities. So there are two main tools to identify the gap analysis. They are SWOT analysis, and second is fishbone diagram. Now, fishbone diagram, there are few steps which are used. One is measurements, materials, people, machines, methods, and environments. I would like to explain this more by using one of my self-experience project. So in one of my projects, which was a very large enterprise retail project, where there was a very big team working on the deliverables for many of the modules and the processes, many different softwares and hardwares like MQ, MB, Java, .NET, SAP, web methods. So many softwares and hardwares were there, and hence due to huge amount of team working there was always a miscommunication and communication gap between the cross teams, or sometimes more than required communication also was happening, due to which many gaps in understanding the requirements, getting the requirements, and implementing them without filling those gaps were happening. The managers then measured these issues and brought into the leads of all the cross teams to sit together, analyze the gaps before sending those requirements to the teams. This way, the work was properly divided, a method was followed, and also instead of the people running around for the analysis, only the leads were made responsible for the same. And this way, we solve these gap analysis.
Okay, thanks, Kanu, for that. Okay, now the other important topic is about requirement prioritization, right? So according to
Yes.
you, what is the requirement prioritization in business analyst, and what are the different techniques which we use for requirement prioritization?
Yes. The requirement prioritization, as the name suggests, is the structured process that is used to allocate the requirements based on the urgency with respect to many factors such as project phase, delivery schedule, cost capping. Now, there are many different types of techniques used for requirement prioritization. The very first one is Moscow technique. Now, Moscow is these are used for four priority groups: must have, should have, could have, would have. So that is only Moscow. MO is for must, S for should, CO for could, W for would. So we have to see that this technique, the stakeholders can prioritize requirements in collaborative fashion by using this technique. Then comes $100 method. This is a simple method is in anywhere multiple stakeholders need to democratically vote on which requirements are the most important. All stakeholders get a conceptual $100 which they can distribute among the requirements. As such, the stakeholders may choose to give all $100 to a single requirement, or a person may distribute the points more evenly. At the end, the total is counted and the requirements are sorted based on the number of points received. So with this technique, however, it is difficult to keep the track of this, and it has been assigned, and what amount is left is to dispose of. The third is 5 whys. It often happens that stakeholders want to implement a certain feature for the reason that are not founded on logical arguments or any business interest. With the 5 whys, the analyst asks the stakeholders repeatedly 5 times why the requirement is necessary until the importance of the requirements is established. The answer reveals whether the requirements is really necessary or can be cancelled or postponed once the priority is determined. And finally, it is one more Kano analysis. Now, this is the model which is an analysis tool to explore the measure customer needs. It's a way to identify the basic needs of customers as well as performance and excitement requirements. So there are two. One is customer satisfaction, another is product function. The more high the customer satisfaction is and more low the product function is, the excitement attribute is high. And the more the product function is and the less the customer satisfaction is, there is a threshold attribute, and the performance attribute is at the center. If the customer satisfaction is on the medium and the product function is also on the medium, then the performance attribute increases heavily. So with this, the strengths, I will say, the strengths of Kano analysis is that it can also helps to understand which features should be included to increase the chances of the product or services being success. And the analysis provided by this method is extremely useful in terms of figuring out customers, priorities, and needs, whatever stage a product or service it is. So that way we can decide the requirements, priorities.
Okay, I think, Kanu, we have covered all the questions for today. So
Yes,
thanks one more time. And friends, all these are very basic questions which, as a business analyst, you should know. And that's reflecting the way this question has been asked. So thanks again, Kanu, for sharing all your experience with the example which you have added. That's, I think, really a bonus for all our viewers. So thank you one more time and see you in next video very soon, Kanu. Thanks
sure.
again.
Thank you very much, Sunand, and sure we will see in next video. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.